Hello, everyone. I'm Nicolette, and today Brian and I are here with Paul Karam. He is the product marketing manager over at Molex, and David Smith, the director of supplier marketing and product management for Interconnect with Sager Electronics. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about consumer technology and keeping us all connected. So first, let's say hello to our guests. Hi, Paul. Hi, David.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning. So 2020 was an interesting year. That's a good kickoff, right? 2020 was an interesting year. Besides life changing for everyone, work environments changed, families changed, technology kind of was pushed to the limits. So, I'd really like to kick off by talking a little bit about this concept of consumer technology, since it became really prevalent in 2020. So, Paul and David, why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about what comes to mind when you hear the words consumer technology?
Well, Nicolette, you're right. 2020 did push everyone and the envelope of technology to the brink of its edge. And when somebody asks me about consumer technology, I think about pieces of technology that really consume us in our daily lifestyles that allow us to function and move forward, especially in a virtual or remote working environment, but also that helps us propel ourselves and our families and our lifestyles forward at home in general. With all of the changes that have happened over the past year and a half, not just in the Americas but globally, it's a very powerful way of looking at how technology has transformed our daily lifestyles and how we just move forward, interacting with everyone and moving forward with business.
So David, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. I wanted to see what David's thoughts were on the words consumer technology.
Yeah, I'm kind of, hello again, Nicolette. Thank you for having us. It clearly has transformed, or technology has continued to transform everything that we do. And to Paul's point, the consumer electronics, the things that directly affect us in our home, the smart home, sometimes challenging to figure out how to program some of this stuff and get it to work. But once it works, it's really pretty amazing, some of the stuff that's out there. And for us, Paul and I, being in the electronics industry, the explosion of interconnect in a lot of this technology, as well as things like sensors and antennas and so forth, lend itself to us supporting our customers in a very great way.
So when we first started out, we imagined, we didn't know how far this was going to go during the 2020s and how far things are going to be pushed. And now, if you guys could imagine yourself in a position where you could build your own fully automated consumer technology device, what would you implement? Right now, knowing what we know now.
Brian, that's a great question. When I think about consumer technology and what do I personally want out of it, I'm looking for something that is easy to use, easy to understand, that is multifunctional, that allows me to communicate with my friends, my families, my coworkers, and something that's maybe small, compact, could be something at home, maybe something portable, I don't know. But the devices that are starting to come out and be improved from other devices that are already in the market are really help shaping the way that we think about and use consumer technology. It's pretty cool.
What about you, David? Do you ever think about building your own fully automated consumer tech device?
Yeah, no, I'm more of a hammer and nails kind of guy. But it is interesting,
It's like, so the case would be made out of wood, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Plywood, as a matter of fact. I wouldn't use that Aztec stuff. It's a little too expensive. But, at any rate, yeah, some of the things that are out, just as an example, I just ended up getting a Garmin golf finder, or golf range finder, if you will. And I mean, it fits in your pocket. It's fantastic, and it works great. So very small, compact, and it tells you what you're supposed to do. I don't always do it. It tells you what you're supposed to do. So, yeah.
Well, nobody asked me, but I will say that I would like one really super high level coffee maker that brings me my coffee. So I'm just saying. I know we've got automated coffee machines, but can we take it to a whole new level?
But now you're talking about robotics, right? You're talking about something that's delivering you something. So you're adding a whole other level to it, you know?
Yeah, I took it to a new level, but that's my dream. So
That'd be a great kickoff to the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, when you think about these things that are, these crazy out there ideas, I mean, are there any that, these dream technologies that seem closer to reality than what we're thinking? Do you feel that way, Paul?
Well, companies like Apple and Tesla and Google, Cisco, they're really pushing the envelope with technology. They're challenging what is out in the market, and they're like I said, challenging the status quo. Frankly, when I think of consumer technology and how it's being implemented into society in general, I think we are getting closer and closer. With the infrastructure of smart cars and communication devices across all different platforms, they really are pushing the envelope. I don't think we're there just yet, but I think I will see a major transformation in my lifetime. And to give everybody a point of reference, I am an older millennial, so I think I will see something in my lifetime. At least I hope I do. And just to give companies an opportunity to really change how we live. It's really that important, and it's really that prevalent in the market too.
Do you ever feel there are some gaps? Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was going to say, do you think users, consumers that are in this space, there's this gap between what their expectations are and when technology actually catches up to? Like, we all go, oh, when I'm an adult, this is, as children, we all go, when I'm an adult, this is what's going to happen. Or you have these ideas, but the expectation and what becomes reality and the time it takes to get to these places sometimes is a lot different than our real expectations on it.
Well, that's a good point, but we are all very, it doesn't matter where you are, what you do, where you live on the planet. We're all humans are naturally impatient individuals, and we all want something here and now, and I want it when I want it, and that's what it is. But the demand is very great, and companies, OEMs have that challenge to keep up with that demand. They really do. It does pose a lot of pressure on companies like Molex and Sager, of course, to keep up with that demand. So it's pretty, it's challenging, but it's also very exciting at the same time.
What about you, David? Do you think there are any gaps there?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, if you think about just the last handful of years and how far technology has come, it's pretty amazing. And so it's almost, in some cases, it's hard to somewhat kind of think of where it could go. I mean, it's certainly not boundless, but boy, there's a lot of neat ideas out there. So yeah, I think there's a lot more that can come about. I really do think that, but there's a lot of creativity coming up with the younger generation, I think, as well. And I think that's going to help frame some of what, like Paul said, we end up seeing in the next handful of years. So
yeah.
Now, what would you consider, some, we're talking about consumer technology devices and we're talking about future technology devices, but, in the current state, what are some of the factors you'd say are most influential when, users are considering buying or using a smart technology?
Well, in my opinion, I think that one thing that people are always conscientious about is price. Price does play a big factor into consumers' buying habits and their daily lifestyles. We all know that technology does come at a cost, and oftentimes it's not cheap. But OEMs are often really posed with trying to make their products cost effective for the average consumer. Now, of course, this isn't always the case with every piece of technology, but at the same time, I think cost is probably one of the biggest factors that consumers are most concerned about. Another factor I would say plays into that window is the integration of technology into one's daily lifestyle. It's not always easy to accept that a piece of technology will genuinely help one's daily activities or their work environment or whatever. So maybe shifting that mindset a little bit to allow people to think a little differently does pose a little bit of a challenge with the adaptation of technology in society in general. What do you think, David?
Yeah, good points. What I think as well is somewhat of a challenge is these companies that come up with these ideas. It's great, but they have to be able to communicate with other devices. And I think what's going to come down the road with the standardization, I think will help that communication. But I think that might also help the price, if you will, because now that you've got multiple companies with similar type technologies,
sure,
it's not like there's just one driving factor.
Yeah.
So I do think that the standards that need to be created, because I think there's industry standards that have yet to come out that will help frame out some of the technologies going forward.
Do you think besides the industry standards that happen to, connect those technologies, we're going to see like, connectivity like from AI that are connecting those devices and communicating with each other? Because that's sort of one of the problems I think people have with some of the consumer devices that are out there now, right? They want to control them by one central point, and some of them are just, different, they're on different systems or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily always communicate with each other as a whole.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges with technology companies in general. Don't get me wrong, in the connector industry, there are electrical standards and safety standards that we do have to abide by. But at the same time, technology companies, right now it's somewhat of the wild, wild west. At least that's what it is in North America. And I know that's what it is, and frankly, a lot of Asian regions as well. A lot of the companies and technologies don't talk to each other. And to your point, having one central location is ideal, but realistically, will it happen? It's really hard to tell. I think I might see something like I said before, in my lifetime, but I think there will be some point that we might see a centralized control, like a third-party system that eventually does control all of our devices together. Our car, devices in our home or our house in general. And then, of course, the little consumer goods that we have: TVs, fans, toaster ovens,
Right.
Nicolette's coffee maker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's pretty cool.
What about quality? Like, when I think about, we're talking about all of these factors that kind of influence the buying decision for these smart devices. Where does quality fall in? How does a consumer determine which products, especially if they're new to smart technologies, how do they almost determine the quality? Obviously aside from looking up Google reviews, but how do you know what's good and what's out there? I'm sure that's an important decision maker.
Well, I do think with
go ahead,
social
Dave.
media, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's that social media component allows for the sharing of information that really didn't exist a number of years ago. And so I think we're probably, as a consumer, we're probably better educated than we ever were.
Yeah.
And absolutely quality comes into that, because a bad review discounts 10 good reviews, that type of a thing. So yeah, I think we have, as a society, we're probably searching more because the information is more readily available, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's information, somebody's opinion, you still have to take that somewhat with a grain of salt. But I do think it does influence some decisions.
I'd agree with David. Becoming consumers in today's day and age are extremely well educated, and they will do their research and their homework before even considering buying a product. They might, to David's point, they might find or locate something on social media, or on the news, or they might see a television commercial or hear something on the radio, and before they even research, make a sudden impulse purchase, I would say 9 out of 10 consumers will go out, research the quality, the availability, maybe there's an option, like maybe a different color that they might like, or a different type of material that they might like versus what was advertised. More and more people are doing their homework and their research, because obviously money is important to everyone, but we as consumers don't want to feel like we're wasting our money. We want to be smart about it.
Do you also think like the integration into the home, right? So if it's easier to integrate, or they're walking you through wherever that company is that you're purchasing from, whether it's a smart refrigerator or it's a thermostat or whatever, the easier it is to integrate, the better it's going to do.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Brian. I really would. I think having the integration into one's home that allows the connectivity between a few different devices makes a consumer more confident on their purchase, and allows them to be more empowered with their technology buying purchases in general.
To that point, then, are there any features that a consumer should kind of have in place before they start introducing this advanced technology into the home?
Well, the internet, I would say, Nicolette, is probably the number one integration tool that someone should have already in place. Of course, space obviously plays a factor into technology with whatever it is. Maybe it's your whole house system, or your apartment, or whatever it might be. But having that foundational connectivity point is, in my opinion, I think is very crucial. Think about what happened over the pandemic this past year, with everybody primarily working from home. The internet played a major role in that technology transformation, between buying goods, technology goods, groceries, everything under the sun. The internet was the core foundation of that. So in my opinion, I think that's kind of the basic foundational thing that needs to be set up. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Paul. to Nicolette's point about availability, I think that that plays a big role as well. Certainly in the consumer decision-making process. You know, if you've got two things, one's you can get next week, and the next one you can't get until the end of July or end of August.
Right.
That plays very heavily, I think, into the decision-making process, which they're in, for device manufacturers, they need to stay up with the demand or ahead of the demand, actually, and have some of those channels that make availability a key component, as important as quality and features of the device itself. So
that's a good point.
Another thing that people are also concerned about is the reliability of the device itself. How long is it going to last me? How well does this communicate with other devices that I have? Can it do certain things? Maybe it can play music or place an order for me. I was doing some research the other day on some of the smart home appliances, and I came across a refrigerator with a large display on it that actually has cameras integrated inside the refrigerator that will automatically notify you on your mobile device if it sees a product is not there or is getting low in the refrigerator. So it was so interesting to see this, and how these manufacturers are thinking more and more about the home consumer experience. It's pretty impressive. It really is.
Now, you mentioned the internet as being one of the base factors, but now is it also a mobile device that has become a base factor? Because so many things are controlled by app versus, whatever, a desktop or even your laptop, right?
Yeah. Devices are getting, to your point, Brian, devices are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and everybody wants something quick, easy, and at the tip of their fingertips to use. So, we've seen more and more app integrations or mobile device integrations with all different types of appliances and other consumer goods in general. For example, I just bought a humidifier, and a fan. And one of the selling points for me was the control and the notifications that get sent to me, and I can manage directly on my mobile device, on my mobile phone. So it was just absolutely incredible to see that technology has advanced so much in the past 5-10 years, whatever it is. And everything is controlled right at your fingertips,
right. And it seems like that's one of the things that actually eliminates people having to have a technical background, right, to do these things and to integrate these things in their home. It's connected to your mobile device. You download the app, you connect that smart device, and you're on your way.
Well,
right.
Well, let me pose a question then, because think about all the things that want you now to connect to your mobile device. Do you ever find that sometimes, for me personally, the phone gets clogged up with apps, and then there's storage issues and this, and if more and more things want to require users to connect via mobile device, do the mobile device companies have to do anything then to kind of accommodate the influx? I mean, it's already a lot, but I could imagine it might grow then.
Dave, I'll let you take a stab at this.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that, Nicolette.
Is it just me whose phone gets clogged? Is it really just me? I'm just wondering.
I think you need to upgrade. I think you need to upgrade your phone. I think that's the.
I feel like I'm like, no, I don't want to download that app. No, thank you, car people. But I feel like there's a certain slowdown on the phone and the storage capabilities and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, they're finding different, some of the device manufacturers are finding different avenues for storage. Think of the cloud. I mean,
right.
that did not exist. And so much of the information can be stored, not necessarily on the device, but immediately accessible, but utilizing the the technology in the cloud, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's some options there that will help the technology going forward.
I hope so.
So do you think even as the data speed changes, we're going to see even more rapid expanse into this? I mean, we hear a lot about, when 5G is truly rolled out, we're going to see more real time. Do you think we're going to see that even more in consumer goods, not just in some of the areas they're predicting?
I personally think so. With the rollout of rollout of 5G, really that's a big thing to swallow for most consumers. We understand what it is, but at the same time, I think some people have a hard time accepting that change and making sure that your devices are connected. Larger OEMs are having a hard time keeping up with the demand. I know for a fact Molex is, and our customers want more and more and more. And we're fortunate that Sager is there to help partner with that, to help supply those needs and availability when people need them. But with the advancement of technology and how it integrates on a global scale, it is very, very challenging for customers to keep up with these cloud-based systems. And then, of course, you have to have the buy-ins from consumers. Is this the right thing for me to do with my lifestyle? Do I surrender my my information to an artificial being, so to speak? It's a hard thing for people to accept. It really is.
Well, Paul, to that point, you mentioned these keeping up with the demand. Are there any industries you, over at Molex particularly, have seen a significant uptick in?
Nicolette, that's a really good question, and we're seeing a major demand for. My group specifically works in the consumer and commercial division of Molex. But that's not to say that our other divisions are not affected at all or whatsoever. Everybody and their brother is affected by the global demand of connectors, because we're consuming more and more technology as we transform our lifestyles to working at home, being at home, thinking differently on how we do things with business and work. We're definitely seeing a major increase in demand for connectors and cable harnesses for the consumer home appliance industry. And of course, now that smart cars and renewable energy is becoming more and more popular, we're seeing a major demand in the renewable energy space as well. So, it's not just larger OEMs that manufacture servers that are seeing a demand. It's also the general consumer goods that are also in high demand. Commercial grade or consumer grade lighting and desk fans and computer monitors, televisions. It's everything across the board, and it's really hard to believe that, but it's honestly the truth. And we as a company are trying to transform our manufacturing processes in order to keep up with that demand.
And I believe Sager has done a lot to help you guys along the way. That's my understanding. I'd love to talk more about that. David, if you want to talk about that a bit.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we've been partnered with Molex for quite a long time, and have been very fortunate. And so we have a lot of history on a lot of the, I'll call them more standard type products, which are still getting designed into many of the, even the newer products. So it's not just the new connectors that Molex is coming out with, which is definitely a part of what we do in terms of getting involved with them, educating our sales team to deliver that technology to our customers, but then also having inventory in place so that when they need it, they have at least a seed of inventory to pull from so that they can prototype some of this stuff. So yeah, everything from inventorying standard product, which certainly has helped us here in the last handful. A lot of challenges today with globally with materials and just pure capacity, as well as Paul mentioned, with the increasing demand across the board. I think we've been able to help a lot of our customers integrate things like their forecasts and so forth into our system, and allow us to somewhat get ahead of the industry in the demand that's coming down the pike.
Very true. Very true. We're very fortunate to have Sager as a distribution member, and with the demand and upswing in connectors, cable assemblies, and other technologies, it's really important that we have those distribution members in place in order to help supply the need for engineers to get what they need when they need it. It's really that simple, but it's way more complex than that. So, we're just very fortunate. So we do appreciate all the support that we get from David and the Sager team. It's just, we just can't thank you guys enough.
Thanks, Paul.
Would you say, I'm sorry, Brian, I'm curious, would you say that there are companies who are not leveraging the help that distributors can provide? Is that something that maybe more should be focusing on?
That's a tough question to answer, but I think there's certainly larger OEMs that have kind of utilized more of a direct model in the past, that continue to follow that. But I also see that with the variety of products that these manufacturers need to acquire, I think they're finding more value in electronic distribution, because we can offer not just connectors, power supplies, sensors,
Right.
Antennas. So, having access to multiple products, multiple franchise products, which actually is a very important thing as well, going to the quality of the end product, I think I think I answered your question, but
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Nicolette, I think it's very important for connector manufacturers to have complete, transparent communications with their distributors. And I know we have a very great relationship with Sager, and providing that information when they need it, in order to empower them to go out, get new design registrations, talk to the customers, ensure that the products are in stock and delivered on time, so they can get it when they need it, without any problems or hassles. It's up to us at Molex as a manufacturer to ensure that we're making it easy for Sager to get all this information at their fingertips. So that way there's not a delay in the process, because we all have a million things going on, as we all do. And having that readily available is extremely, extremely important. So having those tools available, whether it's a data sheet, a presentation, the right information on the website, whatever it might be, or a beautiful interview like this, having that accessibility is really important.
No, especially when it comes to things like connectors that are in every piece of electronics, right? In everything, so really makes a difference.
It does. And it's definitely noticed with the end customer. It helps improve reliability, and I should say brand reliability, but also shows the improvements on quality, awareness, everything across the board. If we can provide these tools to everybody, it creates that open mind share that hey, Sager, Molex, they stand for quality and reliability, and they're always going to be in my back pocket when I need them.
Brian, is there anything else you'd like to add or ask David and Paul while we have them?
No, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and thank you for all the great information.
Thank you for having us. That's for certain.
Yeah, it's good to be with everybody. I hope everyone is staying safe and well. And until next time, thank you.
And everybody, you can learn more about Molex and Sager. We'll have some links for you in the description so you can easily find out more.